Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and this is my full tutorial to use my Cottage Life Junk Journal Kit. This is a complete kit available in my shop. Everything from the cover decorations to the pages to the ephemera, everything is included in that kit. I've also broken the kit down into individual pieces in case you want to mix and match and do your own thing. So you can find links to those in the description down below if you'd like to check them out. There is a supply list both in the download and on the Etsy listing. To start on the cover, you're going to need some cardboard or chipboard and some craft paper or a paper bag, something like that to build the base, and then the panels will go on top of that. And I'm going to move to step one. Everything, when you buy the complete kit, is labeled step one, step two, step three. So step one is for the cover. And I'm going to print and cut out all the pieces for the cover and start working on that. All right, we're gonna start by making the cover. I have some pretty thick chipboard here. This is a bookbinding chipboard. You can use cardboard from cereal boxes and things like that, but I recommend doubling them up so that they're a little bit thicker and more sturdy. And then for paper, I recommend craft paper, the brown paper that comes on a roll, but I'm actually using a brown paper bag today. There's the other side of that. That's what I had on hand, so that's what I'm going to go with. For the panels, you need two panels that are 8.5 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide. That is the front and back of the journal. And then for the centerpiece, it's 8.5 inches tall by 1.5 inches wide. I'm just going to flip this over and glue my pieces to the back side. I have pre-cut this. You can use a larger piece and then trim around. I have left quite a bit all the way around. I wanted about an inch. I think I have about that. I'm going to grab, I have an Uhu glue stick and some Fabri-Tac. And let me just grab my glue, take the lids off. And I'm actually, because I'm doing chipboard to paper, I'm going to use my glue stick on the center of this. I feel like it's going to do a good enough job. You can use the Fabri-Tac on the entire thing. So I've done the centers and glue stick, and I am just going to go around the edges with a nice thick bead of my Fabri-Tac. Might put a little bit in the middle just to be sure. And I want to get this all the way to the edges. I'm going to use my finger. You could use a tool of some sort, a piece of cardstock, a piece of plastic, an old card, and just spread that out and place it down on my paper. I'm gonna do my spine next, and we're gonna leave a gap between the spine and that first piece of chipboard. I'm gonna place this down and leave a little bit of a gap and make sure that they are straight, that they're in line with each other. So right about like that, and then repeat that for this last panel. Make sure everything is pressed down really firmly and give it a moment to dry, and then we will finish wrapping the cover. I'm gonna grab my scissors and I'm gonna give the corners just a quick little angle. I'm not going to go too close. Just wanna take some of that excess material off. And then I'm gonna begin folding my edges in. So I'm just gonna kind of tip this up right like that. Give it a crease. It's much easier to do this if you crease it first. Repeat that for all four sides. And then I would check your corners and see how tight they are. If you feel like they're a little sloppy, I would tighten them up just a little bit. But remember, this is a junk journal and perfection is not required. Now that I've got all of these folded, I am going to glue them all down using my Fabri-Tac again. And I'm just gonna thoroughly glue all of the tab here and press it down. And now we've got our basic cover. I recommend letting this dry thoroughly before moving on to the next step. Now that our cover is dry, I'm just gonna grab my bone folder and crease the spine area so that I get a nice neat fold. And I'm gonna grab this spine cover panel And that is going to glue right here in the center of the inside of the journal. So again, using my Fabri-Tac, I'm going to thoroughly cover this entire surface with glue all the way to the edges, especially at the top and bottom. These sides will be covered by additional panels, so they're not as important. Get that a little smooth, like that. And I'm going to center this up as best I can. I'm trying to decide which way I want to put this. All right. And you want this to be centered top and bottom, and as centered as you can side to side, but you have some extra room to play with here. I'm going to smooth my adhesive down with my bone folder. And then give it a little adjustment if I feel like it's not quite straight. And I'm going to let this dry thoroughly before I try to crease it. Once this is dry and no longer moving around, you're going to want to find those center creases on either side of the spine. And again, use your bone folder and kind of press those in. If anything is popping up, try and smooth it back down. You could always add a little bit more glue, kind of put the tip of your glue bottle under there and give it just a little more glue if it seems to need it. And you can see mine has popped up here a little bit. I either didn't glue it well enough or it has released because I pressed on it fairly hard. So I'm just going to put a little more glue on there and press it down. See if anything else. Everything looks good. No buckling, nice and smooth. We're going to work on the back inside cover first. There are two panels. They are labeled whenever you print them out. However, they are interchangeable. It's not a big deal. And we're going to glue this down so it is centered on the back panel of the journal. Just going to add the glue again all the way around. I'm going to line up with the top and bottom of my center spine piece and then center it within that back cover area. This cover has a giant pocket on it. I have already creased my pocket. I've done the folds. I've inked around the edges and it is ready to go on. So I'm just going to glue these tabs down. 1, 2, 3, and then fit this over the back panel. Try not to get glue too close to the edges because you might glue your pocket shut, but if you do glue your pocket shut, you can just take your bone folder and kind of stick it down inside. This fits pretty much exactly over this panel, snug at the bottom with a little room at the top. This pocket has 2 pockets on top of it. They are these little drawer pockets. And then there's some ephemera cards as well. We are going to grab one. There are 4 of these little cards. We're going to grab one and use it as kind of a guide to decide where to place our pockets. This first pocket is going to get glued on 3 sides and then the middle. So 1, do a thin line of glue as close to the edge as you can. Mine was a little messy. And then you're going to find the center and give just a little line right up the center, and that will divide that pocket. I'm going to place mine just a little above the bottom of this larger pocket. I just like how that looks. Now this card will sit in there, and I want this pocket to sit kind of above. You might decide you like how it looks to overlap. That would be fine as well. You can place it a little lower, but just find where you want to put that pocket and repeat. Glue on 3 sides and then find that center and glue the center. Right like that. And we're going to let that dry really well before we try adding any ephemera into those pockets. Now I'm going to move to the front inside panel. There is another identical or similar wood panel that goes in the inside front cover of this. But before we attach it, we have some things we need to do. So first we have this piece with the mushroom on it. Again, I have inked all my pieces and I added some ink to the back of this just to kind of have it so it's not so stark white. And I am going to glue this tab right underneath this panel here. I'm gonna grab and just I've already, again, pre-scored, pre-creased and folded mine. And then glue it right underneath. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Work just on that. And you're going to want to make sure that this flips and folds all the way over. Just like that. Now you have an option here if you'd like to add a ribbon closure to this area, and I am going to do that. Reach over here and I'm going to grab some ribbon. I'm going to cut a fair bit, a nice length of it. In fact, let me make like a loop. I want to be able to tie a bow, and I'm going to attach. Let's move this out of the way so you can see a little better. I'm going to attach this ribbon right about to the middle of this card here. So this is the mushroom side of the panel. Let me just cut this kind of in half. So I have another similar length piece, and I'm going to glue that at the same point at the other side so that they will line up whenever this is flipped over to the other side. Let me check that. It's pretty good. I can adjust this down just a little bit. Now this is optional. If you don't have ribbon, it's fine. This panel will work fine without it. I just wanted to tie a little bow there. So that is an add-on. This panel is going to glue directly over the mushroom panel. So let me open this right back up. And I'm just going to glue. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac. Again, it dries quickly. You can use a glue stick, but you're going to want a more sturdy glue over that ribbon area if you do the ribbon. And you can put this in either direction. It doesn't matter which is up, which is down. I'm going to line up on this, all three edges, and press that into place. Make sure everything moves freely. If for some reason it's not moving freely, you can trim this edge here and then re-ink it if you use Distress ink. You'll find out once you put it in. If it's a problem, you can just give it kind of a quick trim. I'm going to go ahead and insert this into my journal. And it's going to be positioned exactly like this back panel was on the other side. So glue, glue, glue all the way around. Again, a little extra attention to that ribbon area so that it will be secure. And then not getting my ribbon caught underneath. Line it up with the center spine area, center it up on the front cover, right about like that. How cute. All right. Open this up. A little bit of glue here, so let me rub that off. If you have any overhang and it is stark white, you can just ink it, trim it, whatever you need to do. I have another floral panel. That one is going to become a pocket right here. Again, make sure that it's not going to impinge on your hinge. And I'm going to glue 3 sides. 1, 2, 3. And add this pocket right here. Slide it this way just a little. And if you're popping up, even though everything is moving freely, just give it an extra crease and it will lay flat. The last piece on this area is this little belly band. This is going to go right in the middle here, and you want to glue just the very edges of this. Right like that. And then put it in about the center. All right, we've got all of the main pieces in. We'll come back and put the ephemera in. And I'm just going to make sure everything's working well. It is. Let's flip over and work on the outside cover. I'm going to start with the back panel. It's super easy. It is one piece, and I'm just going to glue it centered right like that. Again, if you're gluing paper to paper, this is a great place to use a glue stick if you prefer. I'm going to center that up, just like that. And now the front cover is actually several layered pieces. So we're going to start with this cottage picture, and I'm going to glue it on the same way I did the back. And I have just stress inks around all of the edges on this. If you have white edges on your paper, and once you stack these all up, it could become kind of, it could make a thick white edge that's hard to ink later. Center this up. Now there are two frame pieces. I did cut the centers of this out with an X-Acto knife. So you've got the kind of matte area and then the outer frame. And I'm going to glue these all flat. You could, if you chose to, glue these together to kind of make them thicker and more sturdy and use like a dimensional tape on this and have it popped up. I think I'm going to do that for some of the embellishments on the cover, and I don't want it to be too bulky, so I'm going to glue this down flat. Again, you can use a glue stick or the liquid glue. And I'm going to go around all the edges really well. And then repeat for the second frame. I'm going to talk about the spine really quickly before I do embellishments. There are two spine pieces provided. You can also leave the spine blank. There is a decorative spine that you can use as well. I'm going to use this plain spine because I think I'm going to put some beads on my strings whenever I come through with those. So, and that would be optional. So you have the choice between this one and a more decorative one. Sometimes I just like the look of the strings on the spine, just on their own. There's just something about it. And just smooth that in there. And then I have some embellishments to add to the front, and I'm going to use some dimensional tape to do that. And that's it for the outside cover. I'm going to go back to the inside now and add my ephemera. There are a few ephemera pieces to add. So I'm going to go with the easy ones first. There are these little kind of seed packet journal cards. They're blank on one side, so if you want to write or decorate the reverse side, you can. Those go into our little drawers. And flipping this open, I've got this photograph, this faded photograph of Barnabas the garden gnome. He's gonna just slide right in here, as well as this embroidery hoop. This is a great place to add some decoration if you want later on, or you can leave it as is, or you can add your own embellishment of any sort. Now we've got this little pocket here. There's a journal card that goes inside of this envelope, and I've already cut and inked and folded this envelope. Simply going to glue one flap over the other, so right along that edge, and then glue this flap up. I'm going to use a Velcro dot closure to keep this closed. It is a cardstock envelope, which I like. It's nice and sturdy. I like how they feel. It's just a thing. So that's why it's made out of cardstock instead of paper. And these are little clear Velcro closures. And I just stick it where I want it on the flap. And then press it down there. And you can't really see the dot. This part is clear and this part is kind of more white. I find that they work really well. So we've got the little sewing pattern envelope and then this card to tuck down inside of there. And then this will slide right in here. It leaves us just with our nice big pocket. And for that, we are going to use the 3 sheets of paper that were printed front and back. These are all printed on paper. I use a fairly thick paper. The order that you print these front and back really doesn't matter, but there are recommendations listed on the files. So you can simply fold these pages in half and put them together and like a little notebook and tuck them right down inside. I'm going to sew mine together very quickly with some embroidery thread. So I'm just going to I have this little pokey tool for my bookbinding kit. This is just some cardstock to keep me from stabbing into my cardboard, to keep me from stabbing into my work surface. And I'm just going to punch a hole in about the middle. And I've got some embroidery floss here. I like this green color. I thought it looked really nice. And I'm going to pull out 1, 2, 3, I think 4. You know what? Let's go 6 just in case. There we go. 6 lengths of embroidery floss. And I'm going to fold this in half. A little hard to show all of it on the camera. So there we go. Fold it in half. I'm going to thread it through this needle. This is a large bookbinding needle. And then I'm going to start on the outside and just poke this straight through to the middle. I'm going to pull this out and get this little guy out of the way. And I'm going to leave tails right there. And then I'm going to go up and then all the way down the spine and then back through the same hole. Then I'm going to pull my needle off and do a little knot right here. And cut. And that gives me just a quick little notebook. It's like a mini journal to play with without a lot of fuss and a lot of sewing. You could just tie a ribbon on this even if you wanted to. And we're going to slide this right down in here. Let's make sure our pocket is not glued shut. Everything seems to be good. If you use something too thick, it might be hard to get this down into the pocket. So I went with the embroidery thread. And there we go, little journal. So this is it for the cover portion of this tutorial. If you are doing the entire project, step 2 is next. So you'll want to print all of those pieces, which are the pages to go inside, and I will show you what to do with those. For this next step, you're going to need the template that is included with the cover kit. It has these 2 pieces to cut out. One is a template for the spine, and the other is for the pages. I've pre-punched the holes on my spine template, and you can see it fits right over there. And to use this, I'm just going to center it up. And then I like to use these little binder clips to hold it into place. So I'm just going to clip that so it's centered. And then I'll be using a bookbinding kit today to put my pages in. This kit, which I will link below, has a wax thread in it. It comes with a bunch of different colors. There's red, there's probably about 6 or 7 colors. I pulled a couple. I was trying to decide what I wanted to use. I think I'm going to use this gold one. It also comes with some punches and needles and things like that. I am just using a punch and a needle here today. And I pre-punched my holes. That was a choice. It's not mandatory. And you can punch your holes from the outside or the inside, whichever is easier for you. I'm punching from the outside so that that little bit of tear out that happens goes to the inside and will be covered by the pages later on. To punch on, I have these pieces of cardboard I've glued together. You'll want to use a surface that you're not going to damage. And then I'm simply going to punch all the way through my chipboard using this template as a guide. I'm going to flip it over. All of my holes seem to be punched all the way through, so I can go ahead and remove these clips. So next I'm going to prepare my pages. Let me move this all out of the way. I have my template. I've folded this in half along the dotted line. I'm going to pre-punch the holes on this as well, and also at the same time kind of show you how we'll be punching the holes through. So it's just kind of fold it over and then punch through like so. You want a raised surface or a surface you can't damage in case of a downward movement of your pokey tool, just like that. So now it's pre-punched, folded in half, ready to go. And for my pages today, this kit includes 48 pages, all of them in 3 available sizes. Now, I have printed them all only in the large size. This gives me 24 sheets of paper front and back. So I've trimmed any white edges off from printing them and then folded them in half and kind of picked which ones I wanted and then arranged them in an order that I found pleasing. So you can see there are 8 pages all the way up to the middle here. So just to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Now I expect that this journal is going to get super chunky. I will make a note down below, and of course you'll have seen a preview of the journal, as well as you can always skip to the end and see it a bit more. So if you are someone who likes heavy decoration, you might want less than 8 pages per signature. I've done as few as 5 in journals that I knew I was going to put lots of thick, heavy decoration inside. But if you like to journal and write, instead of decorating, just decorate some of the pages and write on all the others, then more pages can be better. As you can see, these fit with lots of room to spare inside the journal at 8 pages per signature. And I do use a fairly thick paper. This is a 32-pound paper. I just like how it feels. Now again, I've used just the large format of pages, so these are all the same size. However, these are offered in a medium and a small, so if you would like to vary the sizes throughout your signatures, you can print your pages in all different sizes, mix them up, put them together however it appeals to you. So just to be clear, once you've printed all your pages and folded them in half, you're going to nest them inside each other in the order that you want, and then we're going to insert them into the journal. So I'm going to start with my first signature. I've already decided what order I want these to go in. I'm going to open it up, make sure everything is lined up. If you have smaller pieces and pages, make sure they're exactly where you want them. And then I'm going to add these binder clips to hold everything together. Again, if you have smaller pages or pieces, then try to catch some of those with your clips. I have found though that they hold pretty well overall. As long as you get things tight, you can use more than 2 clips, but for today, I feel like I only need 2. I'm going to grab my pokey surface and my template, and I'm going to center this template up right in here. Now, if you feel like you need it to be extra secure, you can again use clips or paper clips or something like that to hold it in place. I'm going to just wing it and poke through right where those holes are. Now, if you have a lot of paper, it might take some extra force to get all the way through. That is okay. I'm just going to poke all 3 of these holes out. I'm going to tip this one up. It's giving me a little trouble. There we go. You just want to make sure that you've gotten your holes as far into the crease. You can see by doing that, I've gotten a little off there. It'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it. In fact, I'll widen it out a little bit. There we go, towards the crease, so it'll be just fine. I do find that pushing further through to get a slightly bigger hole does help when trying to tie these together. So I've got my first signature, I've got my holes punched in both my spine and in my papers, and I'm going to grab my binding thread, and I'm just going to measure out about 4 lengths, I think, 2, 3, 4. I like it to be a little long, especially since I think I'd like to add some beads and things to mine. Going to use my bookbinding needle. This is a large needle. Just thread that in there. And now you have to decide where you want the ends of your threads to be. if you start from the inside, your threads will hang down, and you can leave them long enough that they hang out of the bottom of the journal. You can put charms and things on them there, or you can start on the outside and have those threads hanging and put beads and things on them on the outside. I think today I'm going to go from the inside. So I'm just putting my needle through the middle hole. Then I'm going to locate the middle hole here in my book. And I'm going to pull this through. Now, if you find that you're having trouble getting it through, you can always widen your holes with your tool and go a little further to accommodate your needle. And then I'm going to pull my thread until I have, I'm all tangled up here, until I have an amount left that's going to hang outside of the book. And I try to leave a little extra, right, like that. That way I have some room to play if I want to. Now I'm going to move down to the bottom hole. Here's my cover. I've got it kind of turned around here. Bottom hole. Put my needle through there as well as through, and it might be easier to put your needle through the book and then through the signature. And then through the bottom hole. Make sure it goes all the way through. Like that. This is an awkward process, but it's not so bad once you get used to it. Now it's a little hard to see, my string kind of blends in a bit. I'm going to go up to the top hole through the pages and the spine. And then back through this middle hole. All right, now I've got my thread here through the middle. I've got one tail on one side and one tail on the other. I'm going to pull this all nice and tight. Make sure there's not a lot of space in between my pages and the spine on the inside. Make sure things are tight on the outside. And then I'm going to tie a knot. As you can see, I have quite a long tail here. I overcompensated. I have way too much string. 3 lengths seems to be sufficient. And I'm just going to cut this here so I have some nice tails to play with. That leaves room for me to add some knots and some beads and things if I want to later. I am going to repeat this step for my other 2 signatures. And here is the final result. I've got all my pages in. There we go, stuffed full. I'm a little nervous to see how fat this gets whenever I start filling it up. And there are my strings on the outside. Everything looks good. At this point, you're ready to start decorating. Now you could, on the spine area, there is a second decorative spine piece. If you wanted to hide those strings, you could glue this right over top. That would look really nice if you wanted to hide them. I think I'm going to stick with this look, and because I used a nice heavy book board, I might wrap some strings and things around. I'm trying to decide how I want to decorate my journal. So you'll find out when I do. But right now, this step is done, and these pages are ready to start adding decoration and ephemera. So I'm going to print and cut out all of my ephemera pieces. That's step 3 in the kit, and I will be back when that's done. So I'm using 3 different kits in step 3. There is an ephemera add-on kit, there is an ephemera kit, and then a fussy cut kit. These are pieces from the add-on kit, and I just wanted to go over really quickly the pocket tags in this kit. There are 4 sheets with the back pockets and 2 tags on them. You don't have to use exactly these tags. There's tons of ephemera that comes inside of this collection. But I just wanted to show you how the tags are intended to go together and then what you can do with them. So each one comes with a pocket. I did print the back sides of these in case I didn't want to glue them down inside of my journal, though I might end up doing that. There is a pocket and then 2 tags on each page. There are 4 pages, so you end up with 4 of these. And I'm just going to glue this pocket on 3 sides. My glue is a little messy. There we go. neaten that up a bit. And then I'm going to center this right down here. So try to get the same amount of distance between each edge on the left and right, as well as on the bottom. And that's it for this pocket. And then after that, you just kind of fill it up with whatever ephemera you want. So there are the 2 tags on the page with each pocket and back, but there are tons of other pieces inside. Some of these larger cards are more decorative on their own and not meant to fit in there, but you do have some of these almost bookmark style tags, along with a lot of little pieces that you could use to decorate the bottoms of these and really layer things up. So if you wanted to, you could grab some of the bands, maybe put one of those on here as a belly band, tuck something else inside of there, maybe a couple of tickets, or other ephemera that you have on hand, or ephemera from the regular ephemera kit. So you have lots of options here. But I just wanted to go over these pockets really quickly in case you weren't sure exactly how to put them together or how they were intended to go together. So for how I would use these, they could either go on their own. Let's get some of these extra pieces out of the way here. So you can use them on their own. And obviously I would add some ribbon, maybe some eyelets, things like that to these. I'm not quite to that stage in my decorating, but I'm gonna grab my journal. And because these are such graphic pages, I might look for a page like this one, let's see, where it's just kind of a background, and maybe I want to add something too. So I could glue this right in and have this pocket tag, maybe glue it on 3 sides so it can also be a tuck right here. There are a lot of options with these. You could also create a pocket and place them inside. So if you wanted to break up all of these bold patterns, you could use some coffee dyed paper, make like a corner pocket or a tuck or something like that, and just place them right in like that and kind of take up a whole page with just these tags. The ephemera kit has a couple of pieces, but the most interesting one is this mini folio. So it comes like this. This is how it looks when you print it out. And you're just gonna cut it all out, and then I've creased this little flap at the bottom, as well as from the corners of that flap straight up each side. So for this folio, to assemble it, and the instructions are on the page with it, but I just thought I'd clarify just in case, you print a pattern paper on the back or leave it white if you'd like to do something else with it. And I'm going to grab my glue and just glue up the very edges of the 2 short sides like this. There we go. So now I have a pocket on the inside, and then these flaps will fold over like this, and you can use some like an eyelet and some ribbon or a Velcro closure or something like that to hold this shut. And you've got this cute little folio, and you can tuck some things inside of here. You can decorate this inside panel, add some more pockets if you want, but it is a great jumping off point for a fun little mini folio to tuck into one of your pockets. The rest of the pieces are pretty self-explanatory. There are a few envelopes where you'll want to fold all of the flaps in just like that so that you can make an envelope. There are 3 of these. I have not glued mine quite yet. I'm not sure what I'm doing with all of them. And there are these little packet envelopes, same thing. Open that up so you can see it. So these side flaps go in first, big, small, fold up the bottom. You want to glue these in place. I'll do that really quickly. Just like that, right along that overlap, and then a little glue on this flap at the bottom. I did print these out of cardstock. I like how they feel out of cardstock. You could print them on paper if you want, and that usually takes a little hold. And then this is your flap to open and close. You can print on the back side of this page. I did not. I chose not to. I might do some stamping or something on there. And then closure of your choice. And there are 2 cards on this page along with these. So they are sized to fit inside. So you could put them right down inside of there, or you could pick something else that you like more to go inside of these. So there's 2 of those. Now I've already cut out all of my pieces and inked just about everything all around the edges with vintage photo distress ink. You do not have to use distress ink. I just like the look of it. It makes everything pop out, especially with a project like this where I've combined a lot of patterns and didn't provide a lot of visual breaks. So I will work those in with some coffee dyed paper later on. kind of a flip-flop reverse. Instead of adding the coffee dyed paper pages into the signatures, I'm going to use them as a layering component over top of the printed digital pages. So I've already cut everything out, some of it by hand, some of it using my Cricut machine. I provide both JPEGs and PNGs. So if you are a cutting machine user and you like to have those PNGs, those are also provided throughout this kit. Now I'm ready to really start decorating my journal. Because I don't do this in a linear way, I'm just going to chat with you a little bit while I work on the journal. I've got it kind of in a fast forward mode so that I can pack in as much as I can in this video without it being just way too long. Usually what I decide to do, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go about this, so we'll find out as the video progresses here, but I like to go through and figure out where I want to put my pockets and tucks first, and I'll either just start gluing them in or tuck them into the pages just to kind of get an idea of how the whole layout of the journal is going to go. And then once I get those figured out, I start working my way through and deciding what ephemera is going to go on each page with those pockets and tucks. I like to sort my ephemera per signature. So I have 3 signatures. So I might take and make like a little pile, vary my ephemera. So if I have like several postcards, I'll spread them throughout all 3. So I'll make a little pile for each of those 3 sections, 3 signatures. And that way I'm not digging through all of my ephemera when I'm trying to pick and choose what is going to go into each page. I know if I'm in signature 1, all of this ephemera in the pile number 1 is going to be nice and varied, and I'm not repeating a whole bunch, so you're not ending up with a lot of things back to back that are similar. And then same thing, signature 2 and signature 3. This is just how I like to do it. Embrace chaos if that is what you like to do, and some days I do too. But for some of these bigger projects, when I'm trying to complete it and share these videos with you, I like to organize everything so that I can move pretty quickly and make sure it's visually appealing and doesn't feel repetitive when I flip through the journal. You'll notice that at first I'm not using a lot of fabrics and textures and sewing and things like that. I try to get my pages kind of laid out in general before I bring in a lot of those materials. But when I'm ready to do that, I will get a selection of fabric and lace and trims and start getting some of my page edges decorated so you get that nice edge along the side of the journal. And maybe start doing some clusters. For this journal, I'll probably pick a couple of different fabrics. Some cheesecloth is definitely going to be incorporated in here. And it's really easy to kind of go back through, punch holes and add ribbon, make little clusters with fabric, add fussy cuts to them, that kind of a thing. So you don't have to complete each page individually if you don't want to. You can kind of work on the whole journal as a whole, and then come back and add certain elements. And this also, I feel, keeps my table a little less cluttered and a little less crazy. And I know, okay, I'm working with fabrics now, and I might go back and pull from some past elements. I have things I haven't used yet, or things that are small that'll mix well to make little clusters and things. But it keeps me from getting overwhelmed by all of the things spread across my table. And what do I do next? So I'll go through and add eyelets and some ribbon, and I'll go through and work on the page edges. Maybe I'll go to my sewing machine and sew several strips of fabric and trim together to run across those edges. And I work kind of methodically most of the time, but not all of the time. If I'm really feeling a page, I'll stop and I'll finish that page out because it's bringing me some joy. Hopefully that little bit of insight into the process is helpful for you. Now I'm just going to let the rest of this video run with let you see what I decide to do with all of my pages. So hang out and enjoy a little music and a little fast forward page decorating, and I'll see you at the end of the video. And here is my completed journal. Hopefully this video gave you some ideas on how to complete your journal. I might go back through and add a few more details. There's lots of ephemera left, lots of stuff left to play with. But here is all the way around view. Lots of little things poking out. I've got my charms at the bottom, my ribbon I tied around the spine. I like how that came out and it was really easy. Now I use that really thick chipboard so it can hold up to the tension of having this tied around. If you use thinner cardboard, then you might end up collapsing your spine if you tie it too tightly. So keep that in mind. You could glue it and then lightly knot it at the top so that you don't squash the cardboard underneath. I hope you've enjoyed this kit. This complete kit is available in my Etsy shop, both as a full download. The files are provided step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3, with the PDFs for you to download just the files for each step. If you are interested in just a portion of this kit, I have it broken up and in individual listings. You'll find links to all of that in the description down below. If you would like to see future kits from me, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.